right. It's 10 o'clock. Welcome to the P3 committee for November the 6th, 2023, upstairs in the upper conference room. The meeting will come to order. Do we have any members of the public?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Just as a heads up, Mr. Goldine may be joining us. But
Oh, great.
I told him don't bother coming at the beginning because his item's not till later. I
Great.
don't know when he'll come, but I did tell the ladies downstairs to escort him up when he gets.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Be nice to see him again. Okay.
Let's start next slide, please.
Items for discussion. Twin Oaks Sewer Sub Area Master Plan update.
Yeah, I'll be taking this one. So this is an update to the item and it'll be coming actually to a future finance committee and then sooner or later coming to the full board. So up in the Twin Oaks Valley, we have three developments that came, the Mulberry 9-lot division, Kid Academy, which is basically a daycare, and then basically a gas station / car wash. When they came in, for every development, we do what we call a water sewer study. It's basically a little study to make sure that they don't have impacts downstream. So in other words, even if the sewer pipe itself was fine here, further downstream, it may not be, and we don't want their impact to burden our existing ratepayers. So it's a good way to ensure that the development community is not harming our existing system. And so what we discovered was the Twin Oaks Valley sewer, there's two of them. There's an 8-inch and a 12-inch in Twin Oaks Valley Road going up the road, is essentially full current. Now we have a project to replace that sewer sometime around 2035.
Mhm.
And if you look at the land use with the city's general plan, the existing adopted one, and even the new proposed one, land use, which isn't adopted, there's really no major development here. And the development here, according to Sandag and the city, is really pushed out into the 2030s anyway. So our 2018 master plan is consistent with all the adopted documents, but it doesn't prevent a one or two different lots, the Mulberry 9-lot, which is 9 custom luxury homes, to come in, obviously. The problem is we don't have a sewer that can accommodate them. So staff is working with them and the city to find ways, because obviously in the middle of the night, the sewer's not full. But when people get up and take showers, what we call the dine-in or peaks, the sewer is full. So we're working on a storage on site and then for the pump sewer in the middle of the night. A time release, exactly. But in the meantime, what we move forward on is what we're working with the developers, is what we call a sub area master plan, which is basically, next slide, please. Basically looking at the basin of everything that drains the Twin Oaks Valley. Looking at the possibility of obviously ADUs, because ADUs could come in, and even though we don't charge them cap fees for the ADUs per state regulations, we still have to accommodate their sewer. So last thing we want to do is put in, let's say, moving that 8-inch, replacing it with a 12-inch, and then would all the ADUs have to go up to an 18-inch or something like that? We don't want to build it twice. And we're looking at the benefiting properties, and we're looking at our existing cap fee models to see how this will all impact our system.
You guys know what ADUs are. Okay.
Glad we're thinking about that because, I've been to several conferences and asked other people, are your districts talking about ADUs?
We were in that workshop.
That's
actually.
right. And the answer has been no to date until,
Yeah.
we went to that conference and sat through that workshop. And I'm glad that we are now focusing on it. It seems like it's going to be an issue that we must address. So thank you for thinking about this.
Yeah, and specifically what's going on is within the Twin Oaks Valley, right? We're looking at, we have to replace 16,700, basically 2.65 miles roughly of 8-inch sewer, and it's going to be varying sizes, but at the end it's going to be 18-inch. So at the end, which is down on the page here, as it collects more and more sewer, the pipe gets bigger and bigger, obviously. So you see the different segments without going through them. They all add up to that 16,700. And then we're looking at ADUs based on the rules. So obviously being conservative, because we can only build a sewer once. Well, you can build it twice, but it's really expensive. You're looking at, any lot above 5,500 square foot has the ability to put in an ADU. It doesn't mean they're all going to happen. So we're looking at every lot that size and thinking, well, maybe 50% of them may put an ADU in, and kind of doing that as our first blush on sewer sizing. The problem is our standard model basically puts all the expenses of a project together and divides it by the total amount of future development. Well, and then you collect based on the developers. It's a pretty easy equation. The numerator has your total project cost. The denominator has the total amount of meters or EDUs, equivalent dwelling units, and you divide those two numbers and you get your CAP fee. That's the very simplistic way of looking at it. So what we're doing now is this project is not on our books. We have no funding mechanism for this project. So we're adding this project to our books. And then, but the denominator stays the same as it always has been because those ADUs you're not allowed to collect fees for. So next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about the project. The project is a $27.7 million project. It is not a cheap project. That's replacing that, basically 2.65 miles. Our consultant gave us a number in the mid to high 20s. Jason and his team vetted that number. Obviously, it's a planning number, so there's about a 20-30% contingency on that number. However, between environmental and just we have the right of way, but sewer, bypass pumping, everything else, and it's going to be upwards of $20-something million project. So looking at our existing options, the way we currently collect CAP fees, so a project, whether it's in Twin Oaks Valley or down closer to Encina, down by the coast on our outfall, we have what we call a postage stamp CAP fee. So everybody pays in for the infrastructure. It's always been that way. It's a very common way of doing it. Or else you would have different CAP fees in different areas of the district. It'd be you could slice and dice this thing a million ways, exaggerating a little bit, but not much, and get a CAP fee everywhere. So like most agencies, we have a umbrella CAP fee. All of our projects go into one basket. All the EDUs go into that same basket. You have total project costs divided by a total amount of future development over the next 20 years. It's the way it works. So if we do that, it adds about $2,300 to our existing CAP fees on sewer only. If we just put it in that Twin Oaks Valley, we're still working on that number, but it's obviously that's a lot smaller development. Now, working with the development community, the district staff position is it's option one or nothing. Because first off, Twin Oaks Valley may never really develop. It's a rural, a lot of those people are not interested in developing. They may develop, but it may develop over 50-60 years. If we have a project like this, we're looking for a payback between 25 to 30 years. So this way, the funding for that project doesn't become a burden on our ratepayers. If you divide it into just Twin Oaks Valley, there's probably the probability of having enough development in that valley over the next 25, 30 years is nil to none.
Yeah, you'll kill development in that area.
Yep, and plus the cost of that would be, I don't know what it is. It's still to be determined, but it's 10,000, 15,000. It's going to double, maybe more than double the fee. However, even with our existing model, adding $2,300 to all development, the district is more assured that we will collect the $27 million within that 25-30 year period, because that includes all the university area development, all the development on the west side, all the development over by Escondido. Every developer would actually pay their prorated share, just like they do today. So this is obviously going to get further. We're planning on coming back in finance committee. I believe this may be the last slide. There may be one more, but they're going to finance committee with both numbers. We don't have both numbers now. We're coming to P3 first because basically we're looking at updating the CAP fee policy. That is a whole public outreach and developer outreach that falls within what they call the Mitigation Fee Act. So the way we're doing it, because everything has to be structured, you need a record, you need a nexus. So what we're doing is that $27 million, we're moving it backwards to basically $18, because that's when our CAP fee was based on. We're adding whatever that $27 million moved backwards to 2018 is, adding it to the numerator. And then obviously moving that forward, new fee forward, and that's how you get the $2,300. So this way, nobody can say we're double dipping. Okay, so we're keeping all the model assumptions the same. It's not a brand new study, it's not a brand new model. If we don't do this, the district does not have any funding in the existing cap fee model to pay $27 million for the project. So we're not collecting it from a developer, we're not collecting it from future development. So what we've told the development community is our options are to do something like this or wait till we do the new master plan, because we're planning on doing this project sometimes after 2035, but it's not in our cap fee model, so it has to get into our cap fee model. So we have to do a new master plan and then a new cap fee model, and you're looking at 2 to 4 years minimum, probably close to 4 years, because city's so stalled on their general plan. And Sanjus has not issued out the new population increases from the 2020 census yet. So
It still hasn't come out
it
yet.
still has not, the new series 14 or 15 or whatever they want to call it has not come out yet.
No.
I've been told by somebody that they're having trouble with their models. I don't know what that means. So, and that's all I've been told. So right now, we have no foundational nexus to even do a master plan. If we were to do something today for a new master plan and go forward, the numbers would be exactly the same. Timing would be different, but every project and the numbers would be the same. So it doesn't make any sense. So that's why we're doing the SAP and we're moving forward. This will give us, if we move forward with this, this will give us the nexus to collect fees to move this project forward. The project is budgeted from just a planning standpoint to do the SAM, but without a funding mechanism, the projects that are, that I showed you and other projects come in, essentially would not have the ability to sewer in the long run. The city of San Marcos is against any type of permanent pump storage solution because it adds risk. It adds risk to their what they call their MS4 permit, their stormwater permit, because it obviously the probability of sewer failure is higher than if it was just a gravity system in. The Mulberry 9 lot division, which is the first one I showed you, that they have to pump anyway because their lot is below the sewer, but they would be pumping on demand instead of storing sewer on site. So the city's against it, but so if it's temporary, I think we're trying to find a way to get these developments moving forward in a way that is robust, that doesn't harm the city, and also does not harm the existing district infrastructure or its ratepayers or our ratepayers. So this is the solution that works from a staff standpoint. And then what I've told the developers is we're going to be arm in arm in this. And if we aren't arm in arm in this, there's no motivation for district staff to move this forward. We'll just wait till we get a new master plan, and then you can just wait till that project goes forward, because we're doing this basically, it will find a way to accommodate development without harming the district.
Yeah, and it's 3 projects now, but you can imagine
There's a fourth coming in.
there's a fourth coming, but it's gonna take us, what, 4 or 5 years to get the sewer built, so how many more projects will come forward in that period of time asking for a similar accommodation?
Yeah, if everything was fast track and, the development community says, yes, we're willing to pay those extra fees and everything works perfect, we're about 3 years that way, and that's optimistic. That's optimistic, because right now, the way that it's budgeted, we're about 3 years away from building the project, and 3.5 years before it's completed. That's on the optimistic side. 5 years is probably more realistic. But if the building industry association or other developers fight us on this, there's really no motivation for the district to push this through, because we can fix this in our next master plan cycle whenever that happens. So, and it's the existing development, we'll just have to wait. And that's happened in the past. That's the do nothing option is a viable option. But staff is being proactive by trying to find ways to accommodate them. You want to go back to that slide? Go back to the slide with the
When was this built? Like, did they not plan for more development there?
So-
Because I mean, that's very sparsely developed as is.
So what happened is there's a few things with the history here. So the sewer models in the industry were always skeletonized, which meant you had the only modeled pipes that were larger than 12 inch. So nobody actually knew except for the ops guys. This is before 2008. 2002 master plan, 1996 master plan. And not just for us, in the industry wide. Around 2005, 6, 7, GIS based models started existing. And then, so in 2008, the master plan that we performed here at the district was the first master plan that did a full system modeling. And we found several areas that the sewer was essentially full. So the sewer area was built in the homes that are around the golf course. That area developed in the 90s. And really early 2000s, but most of it in the 90s. And they just put everything into the existing sewer, and that worked out fine. Come on in.
Hi,
Hey,
come on in.
have a seat.
On item one.
So,
Yeah.
so essentially, as far as district engineering departments and management is concerned, everything was good. And as more and more developed in that area, they just kept on putting sewer into that area. And there's no models to show otherwise. So it would take a proactive operations to say these are full and that communication. And even though, we had a very good operation part of the communication between operations and engineering prior to 2000 wasn't the strongest it was like it is now.
And that's even with like the pumps running as fast as they can.
Well, it's everything's gravity.
Yeah.
So
okay,
there's
so
no,
it can't
yeah.
possibly be like that.
Yeah, everything's gravity, and all gravity's down to Mission, and then goes behind City Hall into what we call our interceptor line. And all that's been upgraded, and we've done a lot of work, actually since, in the last several years to get rid of those old systems, because that's right along the creek. To make sure there's no ion leaking, but this is going up. Newland Sierra was a development that was gonna happen. And at the time, they were eminent, and they had a plan to build a new 12-inch to 18-inch all the way down. Well, Newland Sierra is no longer going to happen. That property's been completely sold. The Golden Doors bought the property, and it's gone to whatever they're gonna do with it, but they're not gonna develop it. So the development in the area, from a status quo standpoint, is the pipe could accommodate it, but it's full. If you look at all the basically adopted documents, the sand just population growth says the growth is not gonna happen until after 2030, 2035. The city's existing land use says the growth is not gonna happen until after the 2030s. So really, you're looking at a valley that has no anticipated growth until after the 2030s. So our 2018 master plan said, you don't need a project because the pipe is full. There's no growth until after 2035. That'll be on the next master plan cycle. Don't worry about it. So that $27 million is not going to be accommodated into the cap fee model. That's really what it comes down to. So if you look at everything that's a statute, and if you, from a district standpoint, we're kind of between, not really a rock and a hard place. You're not allowed to make an assumption outside the adopted document, because you can be challenged on it and you'd lose that challenge automatically. So developers would say, why are you adding a $27 million project that you don't have to do? You're charging us unfairly. Or yeah, now they're getting charged anyway. It's ironic. Or on the flip side, the community who doesn't want growth would say, why are you adding a project that isn't on an adopted document? You're inducing growth. And in both cases, the district would lose automatically.
I have a question. So this is up in Vista Irrigation District, right? We don't
No,
provide
still
water.
ours. One program.
Casu, I have a friend that lives on Casu, and she's Vista Irrigation.
Mhm.
So is it possible to work with them in some way to
They have
help
no
mitigate
sewer.
that? Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm curious why the city wasn't working with us when they approved the development for this area in the first place.
The city technically has not approved any development for the area. They're in the process right now.
And part of that process is to coordinate
Yes.
this by city.
And we said, hey, this doesn't work because of this. And this is why we came up with hey, we could figure out a way to make this work, because the sewer has capacity between 11 PM and 5 AM. So you hold your sewer and you pump it out during that time, but it's not a permanent solution. So as long as we have a permanent solution in place, we could accommodate these developments to come in and have a roadmap and a process for each one that comes into that permanent solutions in place. We're still getting the city to be comfortable with that. They have not, the city honestly hasn't said, yes, we like the idea.
Who's at the table from our end at that, and those discussions when we're sort of marching towards whether or not these developments are going to be approved? Who's at the table?
Elizabeth, Jason and myself.
So they are working with us. This is not a done deal, and we
Yep.
can say, sure, we can do this, this development and the daycare can be put in place, but this is what has to happen if we do that.
Yeah, and we already have, and the city is chewing on that. They're nervous about it because it's not in their wheelhouse. And they're nervous about it, and they haven't said yes, but after we've met with them, they've come up with, what about this, what about this? We've accommodated everything to the point that we can. Without taking ownership of private property stuff, and the district's not in the business of taking ownership of private on-site facilities, so. So the city has, because we don't issue permits, we're not a permitting agency, so the city has to issue a permit.
So the
we-
permit has not been issued yet.
Yeah, there's no permits, they're still getting their entitlements.
Okay,
So this is still early days. And really, the main purpose of bringing it to the P3 is to tell you that if moving forward through P3 to finance committee and an entire board, cap fee study and a cap fee adjustment and developer meetings to meet the mitigation fee act will all take place, and there'll be developer workshops, there'll be board workshops on this. So it's really, we're going to make an adjustment to the cap fee, and it's only adjustment for one sole purpose, which simplifies things. And that's it, and we don't have the ability to open anything else up without opening up a can of worms without a new Nexus document, which obviously we don't have,
so you're being proactive and I appreciate that.
so. But developers are already calling city council members, they're concerned that the developments won't go forward. So, and our board needs to be aware that city council members are already being called because they're afraid. Right now, they're being called because the city's saying, we don't know if we're gonna permit it. And right now, Vallecitos is the one trying to figure out a solution, so.
The 50% ADU guesstimate, what evidence is that? Is that based on?
So state legislations on the lot size, 1,200 square foot or half the lot size, and the lot zoning in the area. So obviously, if you look at the area and if you look at can you go back to the basin? Well, we'll show it. Yeah, if you look at the area, a lot of this area, the Vista Flume goes through, but we still serve 90% of this area from a water standpoint. They have the ability to build ADUs pretty easily on a lot of them. Then a lot of the track homes, the sewer basin that comes in off of Borden and stuff, the ability to build an ADU is much more limited.
Why did you pick only 50% of the?
It's based on our consultant's estimate based on what they're saying. So it's not quite 50%. That's a roundabout number. I don't know the exact number, but it's based on track homes not being able to really do this, and more lots with with no HOA or more open lots. They'll be easily able to do it. Either way, what we found out is, well, if you do 50% or if you do 75%, whatever the number is, it doesn't make a pipe size difference, because the accommodation, the pipe diameter, so it won't make a difference.
Question here. Okay. Next slide again. One more slide of it. Yeah, so we're up to 17,126, and I think there's actually, my math is pretty early. There's another $44 delta between 2,300 and 14,782.
There probably is. I haven't checked the math. They're probably just rounding, but yeah, we'll
Yeah,
make sure
okay.
we'll make sure the math is right.
All right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
But why not just, let's say 20? Because there's gonna be another problem like this in the future, and why not just be proactive and be like, hey, we're raising it, it's a pain in the buns to do this, like, let's just roll it up to 20 and
Yeah, you
We're
have to
not-
have
we're not allowed to.
supporting information.
Yeah, you'll have to have,
yeah, it's gotta have plenty of supporting information for unlimited projects.
Yeah.
You know,
but all the projects are in. So in other words, if we
trying to save headaches in the
Yeah,
future.
I don't disagree with you. You have to have support. So, and the modeling assumes, you're going out for a certain amount of debt service, it
Yeah.
assumes debt service proceeds and interest rate. And the modeling also assumes that,
Okay,
yeah, so,
can't do it, you can't do
yeah, we can't just, we could add, so the $27.69 million.
Yeah.
Has about what we call planning estimates in it, which is about a 25%
Sure.
contingency in that number. We included environmental planning, oversight, staff time, everything in that number.
Yeah.
It's not $27 million to build that sewer, it's 27 million is the whole thing, including contingency. That being said, it's still, it's still an expensive project. The last thing we want to do as a district is undercut it.
Right.
Because then at the end of the day, if we undercut it, we're not collecting enough from development, and that becomes a problem.
So this goes to finance committee on the 14th.
Yeah, we're gonna bring something, and we're hoping that TBD is a better number. We may or may not have it, but so Dr. Bornhagen, you'll hear this twice, almost exactly the same. At the finance committee.
Alternate option.
Well, if we get the numbers, we're working with Black and Veatch as our consultant that's doing the modeling and the number and put the SAP and also put the SAP together with us. And they have a finance division that does cap fees. So we're working with them on that. So, and they've taken apart our cap fees, working with Mike Arthur and reassembled it with that $27 million, obviously moved back in time. So this way it's not double dipping and then move back forward. So we moved it back to 2018, added the number, did the math, moved the cap fee back forward.
Who are the developers?
I don't know their individual names. They're smaller developers. They're not like a Shea or a Lennar. They're not like that. They're smaller developers.
Mhm.
So
Who are they calling at the city council?
I know they called Ed for sure. I don't know if they've called council member Sinella, and I know they called the mayor.
Mhm.
So those are two that I know they called, and the third I'm guessing.
Is all of this in Director Pennick's area or some of it in Hernandez?
So I'm Director Penix there. So, but right now, as far as I know, no Vallecitos board members have been contacted. Right now, Vallecitos is finding solutions.
Mhm.
Temporary solutions and permanent. So each one of those developers, more than happy to pay $2,300 to get the project done.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's because they're only, one's 9 EDUs, the other ones are 1 or 2 EDUs apiece. So that's, the biggest one will be 9 times that. The other ones will be 1 or 2 times that. The challenge will come from the Building Industry Association and the other development committee at large. And from staff standpoint, if there's a challenge, there's no reason for us to die on that hill, because these developers could wait.
Mhm.
And especially if the city's not willing to work with them, then they could wait.
Thank you for that background, and I guess we'll be seeing it in another couple of iterations.
Yep.
And we'll see it in the finance committee and then potentially
Yeah.
at the board level.
And at the finance committee, you may not see that TBD. I mean, we're working on it. That's our goal, but either way, we want to get it in front of the finance committee. And at the finance committee, it's the first time we're going to let the development community know that we're taking it to the finance committee.
Would they want to come talk to us? Would they want to come?
Well, they're welcome to, right? It's gonna be an open finance committee. They can come
Okay.
into the meeting. So we're gonna start reaching out to almost all of them are using CCI as a consultant, which is the Simmons group, Jim Simmons and Matt Simmons. And that's who the main point person has been from the developers to us. The Mulberry 9 lot division has contacted us more directly, but the other two have been using CCI, which is the company name, as the main. So we'll be contacting CCI and the Mulberry 9 lot division directly to let them know that we'll be coming forward. We're going to contact CCI because they have a relationship with the BIA to let them know. So the finance committees will be the first time that this is an open meeting. They're welcome to come here also, but the finance committee will let them know we have numbers now. At least that's the hope.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay. Staffing update. Oh, yeah.
Can we jump to item 6? if that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the San Marcos Unified School District Water Leadership Program update.
Great.
Okay, I'll jump in I'll just set the table.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
Ready to say
you don't
something.
have to jump ahead because actually, every time I come to these meetings, I learn a little bit more and it's pretty complicated and I'm always processing, well, how can I factor in, all the work and strategy that goes into new developments and the work that you do and the planning and the coordination, how do you communicate that to a group of 5th graders? And
Yeah.
so I think the more I understand on your end, the more I can process how to integrate that into the program. So
Very better than me. I had to give a speech at the middle school to the sixth graders, and I bombed.
yeah, it's tricky, you know, how do you format it in a way that they can get it?
Well, how about this? We'll take your item now, but you can stick around for as long as you
Deal.
want to learn.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
thank you for joining us today.
sure, yeah, thanks for having me.
So I can jump in if you
Go
want.
ahead.
So Bill and I have had 2 meetings with 2 schools and they both went pretty well. I'll let Bill give some more texture, but we met with San Marcos Elementary to see if they were interested in the water leadership program. And then we met with La Mirada Academy, formerly Alvin Dunn. And both expressed interest. At first, we thought that San Marcos Elementary was not going to participate, but now it looks like they might participate. And we still haven't heard of final feedback from La Mirada Academy.
Okay.
Separate from that, staff, Chris and I think James, we met with Christina
Correo.
Correo.
She was at the water.
She was at
academy.
the water.
Yeah, she attended the Water Academy at our recommendation. And she's their CTE, is that the Career Technical Education group? So she's trying to bridge the gap. She knows that we have this outreach to the 5th graders and she knows that we have the intern program with Palomar and she's trying to work on middle and high school.
Mhm.
So that's
Excellent.
her role. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of motion. And it's really going to become one of a capacity for us. How many schools can we take on at any one time? How many schools can Bill take on at any one time? And our role is more financial and advice, and his is actually boots on the ground. So, Bill, with that, if you want to add to either of our meetings, either the San Marcos Elementary or the La Mirada.
Sure, yeah, the update is we have confirmation from San Marcos Elementary. There are 2 teachers there that want to do the program. And on Friday, I heard from La Mirada Academy and Miss Jeanette wants to do the program at La Mirada. So it's now, I'll be meeting with them to essentially figure out when they want to deliver the program. If they do it every single day, it's a 3-week program. And so I think my strategy would be to maybe have one do it in January, the other one in February. That way they would complete the program. It wouldn't impact Vallecitos on making presentations at the school, and also could spread out the presentations of the 5th graders to the board.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's I think we're now committed or moving forward on those 2 schools.
Great.
Yeah.
Do we know if Double Peak and La Costa Meadows are also planning on doing it again this year? Do we know that
I
information?
know La Costa Meadows is, I
Okay.
don't know about Double.
Yeah, I am reaching out. I've reached out earlier to Double Peak, and I will be reaching out to them again
Okay.
to update them and see if I can, we have, after each year, we revise our program, we learn a little bit, and make sure that they have the most up-to-date materials and will encourage them to continue.
Okay.
I know they both, when you have a teacher who comes to your board presentation and leaves with tears in her eyes, I think that is an indication that it was a pretty successful program.
Mhm.
Happy tears. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that's excellent news. Okay.
So one of the things I think we talked about this before, but I think Bill still needs to do a little bit of work is to try to figure out where can that capstone project be presented. It can't just be Vallecitos Water District board meetings. We probably need to wrap in the school district and maybe the city council to make presentations, because otherwise we're gonna get swamped with these presentations. And I don't know if we can scale it that much. It's the board's decision, but can you imagine, a board meeting, every other board meeting for months? And I don't think it's gonna lose its special character.
Right. So what's stopping us from making that decision?
Well, I think we need to have some meetings, and I'm not sure how to I don't have an in with the school board. I know you know some of the school board members, so maybe we need to have a group meeting to figure out if they'd be willing to host some of those presentations.
Yeah, I think, the object is to have these students present to a group of adults sitting in a dais, and you get into the issues where you can never have more than 2 board members if it's not a scheduled board meeting for a city council or even the school district. So I know the San Marcos school board is interested in the program and was actually wanting to hear a presentation. So I think there are going to be opportunities. And so that's, once I have some dates scheduled with these two schools, I can talk to the city council and the San Marcos School Board. There is one other point that I'd like to bring up, and the object that Chris and I had discussed, and we had was to try to get this into every fifth grade class in San Marcos School District over a number of years. But there's one school that is outside of your service area. And that's the Jolie Murata Leach Tag School, which is actually in the Vista Irrigation District. So I don't know if you as a board want to maybe see if to do a shared program there. It's really a great school because it's all underserved students there. And I think it's a program that's really well designed for that particular school. So I'm just bringing that up as a possibility. We met with Mandy Bedard, who is a POSA, which is a principal
On specialist.
on special assignment, which is kind of a new position. And she was very
La Costa Meadows, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
she's former
she was-
principal
yeah.
of the customer.
right. And she was very interested in having the program there. She knows that principal and thinks they would really like the program. So I'm just putting that looking into that program. Yeah.
Yeah, you may recall one of the parameters is of the whole program for the district to be involved, it had to be within our service area. So now we get this kind of overlap or non-overlap of the San Marcos Unified with the Vallecitos service area, and this is a school. The Joliet happens to be in San Marcos Unified, but outside of their service area. So, but it's definitely an underserved school, so it's a good target one. But I could reach out to the VID folks, this irrigation district, and see if they'd be interested in either picking up the entire cost of the program and getting into the program, or splitting the cost.
I think that's a great opportunity to have
Okay.
some kind of collaboration. You know, one of the things that I've talked about since we first talked about bringing this in San Marcos Unified was my desire to reach underserved kiddos.
Yep.
And I'm glad that we are pushing into San Marcos Elementary and La Mirada.
Yep.
And I wouldn't want a technicality to be a barrier for us to not serve this other school. But of course, it would be helpful if we could have some of the financial, if we could have some financial help. That would be great.
I'm just trying to protect us from an accusation of gift of public funds that's going outside of our service territory, so.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point.
And just an update with Poseidon Education. So we this year we are delivering 12 programs throughout California and Nevada.
You're going to be busy.
We're in partnership with the Orange County Department of Ed. We're submitting a shared grant proposal to the EPA to do the program in Orange County schools, but also to develop a middle school and a high school education program that would build on each of the programs from fifth grade to middle school to high school, with the idea of preparing students who take the program in high school to be able to take their class 1 certification test for getting into the water district. So
That's great.
yeah, so I think I am proud of the fact that I just think it's so important that we're introducing these agencies and these industries at a young age and putting it on their thought process of what they might be able to consider as they move into not only college, but also a career development.
So that sounds like a perfect opportunity for Christine to sit down.
Yes, so I'm planning on contacting her and meeting with her. She's already reached out to my partner Patty, and so yeah, we will arrange a meeting.
Yeah, I thought it was very positive that she took her time to come to the water academy to try to learn more about our industry. So it's a good sign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she actually told me she talked to a lot of our guys, how did you find out about the water industry?
Yeah.
And she said almost every single one of them said, my mom told me about it.
Okay.
So her reaction was, well, that's great for moms, and it's a failure of our education system.
So we have to find out moms. We reach out.
Right.
So I'd like Christine's
Yeah.
contact information. Someone can get that.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
You got it.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Because I think, I think having a sit down with a couple of school board members as well would be optimal to see if they'd be willing to host the presentation and, you know, I've spoken to a couple of school board members about this program specifically.
Mhm.
And it was a very positive conversation, but it's abstract. So having a more formalized engagement might push the ball along a little bit more.
I think Mandy Bedard will be critical because she was the principal of the school that got kicked it all off. And then now she's been moved to the mothership. So she's this post at the district offices. So she's in better, closer contact with the board members too. So
Okay,
I think she's the one that would be very helpful. And I'm sure she'd be happy to sit in on the meeting
great.
to talk with the whatever board members you can get time.
Okay,
Well, also the newly appointed assistant superintendent was actually at the presentation here at Vallecitos. And so I think we have strong support within the school district to do a presentation.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody that doesn't want to do it. I think it's just not clear how to
Yeah,
make it
exactly.
happen,
What,
to
how
move
does it
forward.
line up?
Yeah.
Right.
And what does it actually look
Yeah.
like? Yeah. Okay. Well, great. This is great news, and I'm pleased that you were able to join us today and to
Yeah.
hear about the success of your business. It
Yeah.
sounds like you're very, very busy.
We are busy and but you know, it's sort of a dream come true. I mean, this is what I was thinking earlier. I started doing these early educations when I worked for Mashburn Waste and Recycling in 1990s. We made our recycling center into an education. We brought students in. We got them up on the sorting line to sort plastics and so forth. And yes, much to the chagrin of the general manager, who thought this was a liability. But it took a while before I told him we were actually doing that. But it's interesting. A couple of years ago, I was in a meeting with an accountant, and he looks at me and goes, "Are you Mr. Dean that did the recycling?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I just want you to know, that was one of the most powerful presentations. I educate my kids. We are so enthusiastic about recycling at our house." And so I've had teachers who were in the program from San Marcos School District come up to me years later and just said, I can't tell you how much we like that program. So I know it can work and it can change people. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
it's a
I'm glad
continuation.
you're trying to get funding for it too.
yes,
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's a great way to tell people the story of the success. So,
yeah, and I think I'll hopefully work with Chris and we'll submit another proposal to the Met. We've actually met with one of the board members of the Met. And so we're planting seeds all over.
Super.
good. Okay.
Thank you for taking that item on board. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course, of course. Okay, any other comments or questions about that? More good news. Okay, staffing update.
So this is just staffing update of my little department. So Alicia's still out. She'll probably be out through the end of the calendar year. So it was really Lisa and I that handled the water academy, and it was difficult because Alicia did a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for us, and she's got her notes and things that we didn't have, but everything got pulled off, and the bagels and the coffee arrived, and the lunch arrived, and the bus arrived, so everything went really well. I will scan the feedback comment things and send them to the board, send them to the general managers, everything, nice comments from
Good,
everybody,
good.
really fabulous. But Lisa's working sort of with one thumb, so little tricky for her as well, just picking things up and stuff like that, so happy to have Lisa back though.
Yeah, well, congratulations. It was a great event and seemed like people were, they had so many questions, just even at the beginning.
Yes.
And I think that's that's good, because they're curious.
Yeah, the crowd was very engaged, which is always good to see.
And I do need to throw some kudos out to, this isn't just the public info team that does this, we have all these departments that kick in and provide support, and people from other departments filled in for, like Alicia, as a tour guide, and even the temperature, I think, caused everybody to go inside for lunch. And then I see Steve out there getting out extra tables because everybody wants to eat inside. So, yeah, great coworkers here.
Yeah, and we're having a thank you lunch is this week.
Yeah, on
So,
Wednesday.
and
Yeah.
all our staff members have helped.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
usually we try and invite everybody to come and eat with the participants, but some of them have to go off and get other things ready. Water operations specifically, they're like, we can't stop and eat. We got to get everything all set up. I'm like, oh yeah.
Glenn and I will be at EWA, so we're gonna miss it too.
Oh, all right. Well,
The food was good.
I'll eat your share. I'll find a way.
Appreciate that.
The food was good.
Yeah.
Yep. Vegetarian options
Yeah.
would be good. No, they
Oh,
didn't
they
have
weren't
any.
there?
No, well, they had salad.
Oh, I thought
Well, there you
you were
go.
supposed to have like a
Salad and roast meat, which was very good.
They have
Like
cheesecake
cheese
there.
yeah,
Oh, they did have, yeah,
Yeah.
they had
Yeah,
cheese, yeah,
cheesecake,
they did
yeah.
have cheese. That's
As long
right.
as you're not vegan.
right.
Or lactose intolerant.
Oh, not this one.
Right.
Didn't take a lactate, so I just had salad but it was good. The food is good.
Yeah.
Whoever we are getting to do that.
Yeah, they
food is
do a
good.
really good job, and I'm a person that doesn't like to mess with success. And his cooking has been successful, and you can even smell it as you're walking over, and I think that adds a lot to it versus like a boxed lunch or something like that.
Yeah, it's more communal. when you-
Yes.
Like you stand in the line and you meet other people. And
Yeah,
then you go and you
yeah.
sit down and you can meet other people too.
Truly,
I met actually one of my neighbors. One of my neighbors was there.
Oh,
He
that's
was-
good to hear.
yeah, he was impressed. He really enjoyed all of it. So, and he had a lot of really good questions. You were talking to him, James. Yeah, yeah. So, okay. Anything else on staffing update?
that's it.
Okay, internship update.
So this is fun, and I'm gonna work from the future to the past. So we I interviewed with Jacob Shiva. We had, I think, 5 candidates for the spring semester. The candidate chosen is Logan Crawford for the spring semester. And I'm looking at the individual on a little screen and so forth. But I'm telling you, he reminded me of Ed Pedrazi in a lot of ways. Just kind of interesting that I'm like, yeah, it reminds me of Ed.
And this
So-
is our fifth. This is our
Yes,
fifth.
yes.
intern. Okay.
So, but I'm just anxious to see, like, when he actually shows up. Does he really seem like Ed? And will other people think the same thing? So we'll just kind of see what happens.
Maybe you can ask him to address a certain.
Right.
The interview.
Right. So moving to the present, Flavia Oriam, I just want to share, I was at the supervisors meeting the other day and we're talking about different topics and subjects. And both collections, Justin, and then development services, Elizabeth, both made really nice comments about Flavia and her participation. And she actually was doing some legitimate work in their work groups, and they appreciated her kind of go-getiveness and willingness to kind of jump in and touch things. So, it's just nice to hear that from your peer supervisors in a meeting when they don't have to say that. And I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Do we know what she wants to do next? Do we have? an idea?
She's still got quite a few places to visit. I think
Okay.
her focus is really water operations. Yeah.
Okay,
But she may, sometimes people change their mind. They go, you know what, I didn't think I was gonna like that, but I like that, department over there. And that's happened more than once.
yeah, well, that's the beauty of the rotations through the different areas
Absolutely,
in this internship program.
truly,
Yeah.
truly. Okay, so that was the present, and moving into the past. Evan Fox, who was our intern, he also got to be a San Diego County Water Authority intern. He took his rotation at San Alejo Joint Powers Authority. They liked him so much, they hired him permanent full-time.
Oh, well, good.
So, and he wrote a really nice note about, just the support that we all gave him,
Great.
and wanted to share that, that's what we want to see, is we want want these individuals to get jobs in the water industry. I wanted them here, but you
Mhm.
know, it's okay, you know, we might get them at some point, so.
Yeah, you hope that 10 to 20 years from now, we have this whole long list of people that went through our intern program and now are in
Yes.
the industry.
Yes.
That's the point of it, yes.
Yes.
Very good.
Can you share that note with the board members?
Yeah, I'll forward the email.
Yeah. That's-
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, any other updates for the internship program?
When
That's
does the spring one start, you know?
They get a pretty long amount of time off. I think it doesn't really kick in until like January 18th or something like that, so.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds about right,
Yeah.
mid-January.
Yeah. They get a good holiday.
So I have just a brief update that we'll talk more about at our next meeting, but I met with Nora Kenny Whiteley, who is the head of the Rising Scholars program at Palomar. Rising Scholars is a program of formerly incarcerated students. And I learned about her through another event, but she also has a bunch of students. And I chatted with her and I thought, well, you know, most of the interns that we get through Jacob Sheba's group, they do field work. And I sent this email out explaining all this. Most of them do field work, but you know, we have HR, we have accountants, we have call center folks, we have customer representatives, we have people that do strictly administrative stuff. And so I thought, so this might be another opportunity for us to pilot a program that would, you know, because I want to be very careful about taxing staff time, because we know that these interns are wonderful additions to our group, but we also know that it takes staff time to manage this, and it primarily comes through your group, Chris. So my vision was, can we have a discussion about this? Can we talk about this? Can we talk about potentially bringing in folks on the other side of what we do, like customer representative? And Nora was very open to that. She was very appreciative that I had reached out. So the plan is for our next meeting to bring either her or the dean of continuing education into the meeting to have a conversation of what this could look like and potential timing and what the opportunities might be, with the understanding that we have to be careful about taxing staff time, but this might be another opportunity for our community that would make, you know, the water district better, and, you know, help these students that are on track to graduate and contribute, give them kind of a foot in the door and give them some experience. Some of them have not had experience because they've been incarcerated. So we can talk more about that. And I also explained to them that, you know, depending upon, you know, and well, just taking a step back, you know, one of the things when we first started out with Jacob's group, Chris, you'll recall that I said, I want to be very clear that having a criminal record is not a barrier to them being an intern, that we would take it on a case-by-case basis. So this is sort of in line with that. We will have to take it on a case-by-case basis, depending on, you know, what their history shows us. But I think that there's plenty of opportunities for us to overcome those kinds of barriers.
Yeah, and Vallecitos has a good history with that. One of our former water operators had spent time in the state penitentiary, I think 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And then had a long, successful career here. And she recently retired 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Great.
Something like that. So,
Okay.
yeah, it shouldn't be a barrier.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Okay.
May I interject something?
Sure.
So I think Governor Newsom just recently signed a new bill which is targeted increasing internships in the state of California. And I think there's some money associated with that. I think the state is putting together the sort of structure of how that will be delivered. But I will send you that information because I think that's an opportunity for tapping into a financial resource that can support your development of increased internships.
Thank you. That's a great point. You know, because one of the things that we struggle with is, you know, some of these folks, particularly Palomar students, they may not be able to afford an internship that does not pay them something.
You're right. Yeah.
And that's such a shame, because they just, you know, they've got families, or you know, whatever their circumstance. So that's why we have moved forward with paying them, and I can't recall how much we pay them. It's,
We don't pay them anything.
The
Oh,
Palomar
I
interns, we
forgot
don't,
about that.
no,
No,
they
we
don't,
don't pay
because
them.
they get the
Okay.
course
So,
credit.
but we
Yeah.
get the
Oh,
scholarship.
Get the first credit and
Scholarship.
they've gotten scholarships every time.
so if there's money available, that would be,
We're having conversations with Jason in engineering about getting an engineering intern on board, but then that would be a paid intern because it wouldn't be a Palomar appointee or anything. It'd be, they would need to be paid for that.
Similar to Bill's point, the San Diego Economic Development Council at EDC, I think I had brought that up to the committee before, but they offer paid internships. You just pick from their pool, which is usually disadvantaged candidates to begin with, but extreme high quality, and they pay $20, $22 an hour, something like that, fair internship.
yeah,
So,
that's good to know.
EDC pays them,
EDC.
but we just host the
correct,
the
yeah,
worker.
yeah, when you say you want an engineer, you know, that has a preference for whatever systems that, you know,
Yeah.
you're using internally, whatever tech stack or whatever, and they'll put that out there, and, you know, you never know who of their candidates can surprise you, and that, you know, I've experimented with this form of software, or this, you know, so.
These are conversations that are happening throughout the entire state and all the water agencies and all the sort of water education organizations of how do we get more internships and paid internships, and really there's a focus on this right now.
Good, there has to be.
Yeah.
There has to be. I'm glad that we are at the forefront of that. It seems like we are.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay. Anything else? Internship update? Okay. Vallecitos branding.
Yeah, so I think what made me think of this was Denise, who's the new head of HR, was helping water ops with their PowerPoint, and we kind of have a standard. In fact, Anthony, can you pull up the recent PowerPoint that we had, or can we not do that? There's kind of a standard template you can see kind of along the left side. There's pictures of like probably the pipes at Meadowlark at the top and the bottom, and then Russell in the middle there. And it drove Denise a little bananas to see Russell's face over and over again.
What?
And yes, well, you know, I don't know, you know, different people have different thoughts on it. But the point being is Russell is going to retire at some point. He's getting a little gray in the beard like the rest of us. And that, you know, maybe we wanted to refresh this. And so I just figured this would be the appropriate place to broach it. It was put together in 2015, consultant work that was done on kind of our branding, but it was also a board that approved it that has turned over 3 of the 5 positions. And so just wanted to broach that here if you had thoughts on that.
Good.
I personally think the brand's pretty tired at this point. It could use a refresh. I've certainly got some great resources I could help send your way that would be very affordable, that would help with this. I get absolutely no financial benefit or anything, of course. Just happy to see the districts improve its look, and especially when it comes to our public image. I think it's really important to, you know, be aware of the way you're perceived in public. And with that, I'll also suggest that we should revisit our willingness to respond to public reviews that are out there on various services. I think just a simple reply that says, hey, we've looked into your concern. We think it's been solved now, but we can, if there's anything else we can do to help you, I think just the public seeing that just lets them know that you care and you're going that extra mile. So would put that up there for consideration.
I think that's a great idea. I think it would be a great idea to embark on a rebrand. I don't know if we have that in the budget. I don't remember seeing something like that in the budget.
It's not, and it could be something that we could put into next year. So
Yeah.
like I don't have to do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you know, that could be something that we would do.
It'd definitely be something we could bring forward in the budgeting process to full board, and then if it's something that moves forward, then it'd be handled through the budgeting process, then through P3, and then back to the full board.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see that process. I mean, as someone who's spent the last 2 decades in branding and marketing, I think that it would be a lot of fun to participate in that. I don't know that we need to hire a lot of consultants to do this work. I think that our PIO group is very talented. That includes you. And you do have people on the board that have expertise. Having said that, though, if you wanted to enlist some help from consultants, I think sure, but let's just be mindful that we have some in-house expertise.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'd like to see a full blowout, like everything from our print collateral, our digital collateral. I know that we're working on the update to the website. Maybe a redesign of our between the pipes. Yes, a new maybe PowerPoint template, maybe new social media templates. It could be all encompassing. And again, it's exciting, but I also realize that you have limited staff. So,
I would say though, so much has evolved in branding and marketing that it's not that you need to pay a consultant 50,000, 100,000 these days. It's like you develop your core brand and then it's applied to all these templates through Canva or one of these other things.
Yep.
And it can be very affordable and easily done. That obviously the rebranding of, if that extends to vehicles and stuff like that, that's a little bit more aggressive, but the more top level stuff that shows you care, I think can be done very, very budget friendly.
And we've got some good local businesses too that I'm sure would be willing to help.
Sure.
And it will be really cool is if we do go through this rebrand. I know that I have noticed that several of our board members, not all of us, have nice shirts that have the logo on them. It would be nice if all of us had nice shirts with the logo on it that we could wear to events, and maybe the rebrand with the new logo would be great. That would be a great gift for all the board members.
We're actually looking for when we onboard employees to provide, because right now we don't provide employee shirts with our logos on it.
Mm.
So we're looking at that as a process also.
Yeah, for events like the Water Academy, we try to all wear the same color shirt for the staff members that are presenting.
Yeah.
These.
Yeah, I think that looks sharp.
I also think name tags, I emailed you guys, I think we're out of town, but name tags would be helpful.
Board members need standardized name tags. I have purchased one on my own and kept it for about 4 weeks and then it got washed or lost or something.
Yeah.
But if we had, board members should have name tags, standardized name tags for sure. I think that that's something that we should do quickly, and that would be nice for us to have so that we could wear rather than the stick on that gets caught in my hair and ends up on my back or ends up on somebody else or that would be nice. Okay, anything else on branding? That's exciting. It's exciting. I'm glad that we're going to tackle that, and I'm glad that you're enthusiastic about it.
Likewise.
Okay, permanent special agricultural water rate update.
So I got a note from the Water Authority that it's time to review our permanent special agricultural water rate customers, that program. Vice President, you're familiar with it. Director Grosset, we get a discounted rate from the Water Authority for participants in this ag program. To be in this ag program, they have to be on one of 4 lists. First one is like pesticide application. Second one is a land use study has to be done. Imagine a dairy, what you have to do as far as your land use to make sure you don't have, manure coming off your property. Pretty extensive and more related to, livestock ag versus pesticide application. Next one is specifically set up for participants that would sell their goods at a farmer's market, just to make sure that if somebody's actually at a farmer's market, they actually grow the produce rather than run over to Ralph's, buy a bunch of celery, take all the labels off of it, and then put it out and try and mark it up and pretend that they grew it when it's actually purchased somewhere else. So there's a whole Department of Weights and Measures and Ag will go out and check out the property. And then the last one is certified organic, and most entities that are certified organic would have that certification anyway. So I got to make sure that our customers are on those existing lists, and some of them may have dropped off, and I may need to urge them to get back on it again. And if they desire not to be on that list, well, then Vallecitos has its own ag rate. It's not as good as the Water Authority's ag rate, but it doesn't have the same requirements to be on those 4 lists. So
this is just you checking for abuses, is that what it is?
yeah, essentially just making sure everybody's legit. So it's just a process, and there may be some customers that I have to chase down a little bit. That maybe most of them are in Vice President Boyd Hodgson's service area. Well, actually, most of them are going to be in Director Grosset's service area, but there is certainly some along that ridge, kind of right behind Lake San Marcos. A lot of avocado grows over there.
So I remember when the last time we were going through this, I went and I knocked on these doors to talk to them about this and make them aware. And I remember, you know, one customer, they were really struggling with working with the county about the pesticide application. Is that for the certified organic process?
No, that one is really basically just a pesticide certification.
Okay, that was a barrier, and that was something that they were struggling with, and it's not our purview.
It's not.
But because I was sitting in front of them, I was hearing about it.
Yeah.
And I think I probably put them in touch with you because I didn't really know what else to do, and I thought
Sure.
you might know
Sure.
the person that they needed to talk with that could help them solve it. But do we anticipate that those are the kinds of things we'll encounter in this process? People having trouble jumping through the hoops at the various entities?
There can be trouble jumping through the hoops, and people can let their certification expire, just like anything else. You don't register your car or whatever, and there's not that kind of notification to remind you to do it. And so I'm gonna have to look and check the data and see what it tells me. And it's not really that hard for people to recertify if they've been through it once before. The tricky part was last time was really getting them through it. That was the first time they were having to do this.
Okay, all right.
That's what made it really difficult. Was it was kind of a change requirement. They used to have what was called a transitional or temporary ag program, and when they made it permanent, they came up with some new parameters.
Okay, so hopefully it will be not quite.
Yeah, I hope I just look at it and everybody's good, and we just say, hey, all of our data is accurate and good, and our customers are all in. But there might be some.
Okay, all right. Well, keep us posted. Is there a deadline that you have?
Yeah, January 31st of 2024. So.
Oh, okay, so this is busy.
Yeah,
busy.
yeah, it's just busy work. Yeah.
Okay. And I know that you were really good about reaching out to people last year. Do you think that you'll do that again, or not?
Well, that was a couple years ago, I
Yeah.
think, right? Yeah, and the tricky part is some of the customers are seniors that still own these avocado groves, and they don't respond real well to mail. They don't have email, and they don't answer the phone. So that's what makes it, complicated. Is just getting to them.
And that's the reason why I went and knocked on their
yeah,
door.
and your area is a little better. Director, yes, because I'm not. If they got a grove, it's a big piece of property. Director Pennock has some of the more, isolated people where they live alone up on this hill.
I don't like the government.
Right.
It's a
Yes.
donor,
Right.
Who knows what
Exactly.
they're growing there?
Right.
I think he knew quite a few of them.
He
though.
did.
Yeah, I think he knew.
And
quite a few of them.
he helped and you helped. So that was
Okay,
good
good.
because the outreach of the phone, the email, and the paper letters just isn't real successful.
Okay, but it seems to me the last resort was that they would get a bill or something, and then that would, whoa, what is,
Yeah, they would get moved to our ag rate.
Mhm.
You know, if you don't do anything,
Yeah,
we're
okay,
just gonna move you to our ag rate, which isn't as good and it's gonna cost you a little.
but
more.
people tend to notice that.
Yeah,
as
although
the
some
last
of them
result.
just made the decision, I'll just go with yours,
Okay.
so, which is okay.
Okay. All right, well, that's gonna keep you busy, and do you have people that can help you with that? list-
You know,
Since you're,
it's tough
one
it's
person?
tough to delegate, it's, you know, a lot of data review and
okay,
comparison between data files,
Mhm.
and so it's just kind of mine.
okay. Okay, okay. Okay, any,
May I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Chris, are those various ag rates on your website?
Yes,
Because that's, agriculture is becoming a big educational issue as well. And so I'm just curious to what those savings come out to be. And if they're on your
Yeah, it's on our website.
okay.
or-
Yeah,
Yes.
I can go to that.
and then the big benefit is, you know, you're really not getting into the tier 3, which is, you know,
That's
kind of the punitive
Yep.
water
And that's
user
the main thing, right? You stay in tier 2 the whole time, for the most part.
for our rate.
Yeah,
yeah,
for our
tier
rate, yeah.
2.
And can you have a traditional hookup to apply for those rates, or do you need the especially larger pipe? to come in?
So we did allow, and we have a lot of customers that have 1 meter with a residential property and an orchard per se. So that does exist, yes.
And what qualifies as an orchard?
You know, back in the day, it was, you know, an acre or more. Now if you can get on one of those lists, you're good.
Hmm.
And one of the um, one of the hydroponics places kind of along North Twin Oaks where we were looking on the map got added in as ag, where they were not really what we'd call an orchard, and I'm not sure it originally met the acreage requirements, but yeah, they're growing the lettuce that you typically see, like the romaine that you see at like Costco, like they're the brand that makes
Mm.
that. And the goal was to provide lettuce that would not be tainted by any type of
Salmonella.
yeah, well, and
Pesticides.
what's the one in the wastewater stream?
Botulism.
No.
Listeria?
No.
We're just gonna keep guessing.
Yeah. Is he right?
The trade-off is, of course, that when we enter severe drought situations, that their water is reduced first
For the for the
in
Water
exchange
authorities, yeah.
for the rate.
yeah.
When we were just in our last drought restrictions, did any of those customers were they impacted by having to reduce their?
No, the board did not invoke drought rates on anybody, so.
Anything else with that then?
E. coli.
That's what I was trying to get out. Thank you.
Okay, last item, distribution of board committees discussion. So here we are
Yes.
in the committee. You know, I came to the board saying we have a problem. And, you know, I showed data showing that I've been systematically excluded from board appointed representative committees. And the board said, okay, you brought this problem to us, now you go solve it, which the irony on that is not lost on me. But here we are. So Jim Gilpin, who I was hoping would be here today to sort of talk about some of the things that he had investigated. He sent an email to me and Glenn and Anthony, and I don't know if you were on it, but it was just, it talked about sort of what our policies say and the way we go about assigning committees. And as I explained at the board meeting, you know, for the benefit of the public, the way it works is, you know, whomever is the president, they consult with the other board members. And something that I thought interesting in Gilpin's email, it said something that the president must consider the other person, you know, what the preferences are. I don't have a lot of evidence to suggest that the president must consider, because I have asked to be on some of these other committees and not been granted that privilege. But it's the case that, you know, there's a discussion, and then there is a slate put forward. So, my concerns are with learning opportunity and with monetary opportunity. Like I said, I don't have a solution. This is, the solution that I would have developed was that we would be assigned in an equitable way. But as I mentioned, it's hard to do that when the votes are cast for inequity. And I'm just one vote of the 5. So I'm interested to hear what other people have to say. I don't feel like this is my problem to solve. I'm bringing it to everybody, and it's all of our problems to solve. So, yes.
In recognizing the problem, and trying to help find a solution, I asked a board member of a large public biotech company, will remain nameless what they do, but he said that they assign weights to each of the committees and then weights to the seniority of the people that have been there. And basically, you're assigned points for every year that you've been on the board, and then you can put on for the committees, and that's the first consideration of those assignments. And then the second, well, I suppose there's a little bit before that. Obviously, if you can waive, you don't want to be on any committees, you're too busy or whatever, that would be the first consideration. And the second would be the seniority points-based, weight-based system. So if one of these is worth more, or the most desired committee to be on, and I'm very new at this, so I don't know which one would be the best or whatever, but you could say assign 5 points to this one, 6 points to this one, or whatever, and then people would kind of have to put out their points to make it happen, and that would kind of help make it blind to whatever we may see. So I thought that was interesting and worthy of bringing up here.
Yeah, I think that that's a really interesting solution. I think that does enable standardization. And it recognizes the tenure. It recognizes people's contributions. What are some other thoughts?
Well, at the end of the day, you have 2 types of committees. You have inside committees, right? That's our standing committees. You have outside representation in committees. And, different board members may feel that an internal committee, whether it's P3, engineering, and finance, is really, that's what they're passionate about. But other board members might feel that they like those outside, whether it's an aqua or, so it's really subjective in that case. But if you list the outside ones separately from the inside, and then see if you can find an equitable distribution that way, I think that's a good way that's a good baseline starting point. So
yeah, I agree, and we've done that. These are the board appointments dating back to 2020, and we do that. And I also see a difference. I also see a difference in these types of committees. Our standing committees, we've got 4, and looking back at 2020, I think there's a policy that you can't chair more than 1 standing committee.
Unless you get the unanimous approval on the board.
Okay. And we've got 4 committees, 4 people were chairs. In 2020, Hernandez, Martin, Evans, and Sinella were all chairs. It's been pretty equitable for those as well, for the years that I've been on the board. And that was something that was taken into consideration, because when I was put on the Public Awareness Personnel Committee, and in my first year, I said that I wanted to do it again. So I'm grateful that I've been able to do it again. But the board appointed representatives to the external committees, that is where the discrepancy seems to be appearing over and over and over again. And I've raised it before. I raised it at the last time we voted. But I thought I'd give it one more shot to raise it again. Because, as I said, there have been 27 opportunities for me to serve on these committees, and I was put on 1. And then again, I was not put on that same committee the next year, because apparently someone got a phone call who was unhappy that I was on it. And then I asked to be on that committee again, and then you were appointed to it. So it's not your fault, I know.
More than happy to vacate
I
that,
know.
by the way, as well.
But, and so I think that your suggestion is a good one. I think that that's a really interesting way
I
to
can
do it.
try to get a little bit more framework to
Yeah.
exactly how it's done, but I
Yeah.
liked the concept
Yeah,
of it when I
because it's
heard
like-
it.
they're not all equal. They're not all equal opportunity. It's not all equal, monetarily.
So I have a couple of thoughts. So
Mhm.
two of the higher profile external committees, you get the representation, that committees, you get the water authority and Encina wastewater authority. They have requests into us that they have continuity in representation. They don't want a rotation for our water authority, for example. Similarly with Encina. So if you went with a point-based system, I don't know how that would affect our representation on other agencies' boards.
Well, that's where the seniority piece comes into it. So if that is the case and the person who's of that senior position.
And they can lock it
continue
in
to
for,
kind of
yeah,
opt into
and
that.
maybe it works out. I
Yeah,
didn't know if it
but-
was like I'm picturing like a fantasy football where people are drafting players and you can outbid somebody for a position that you wanted, but you, at the expense of all others. I don't know how it would work. Right.
But people lose elections.
Yeah,
People lose elections.
Sure.
So
Yep.
I appreciate that, but if we put forward someone, the water authority is not gonna say, no, sorry,
You're right.
they're not gonna say that.
Yeah.
Encina's not gonna say, sorry, we want this person because of the continuity.
You're right.
And people lose elections, so.
You know, that just from a practical consideration, you're the presumptive president, incoming president on the December 6th meeting. I don't think we can do anything between now and December 6th to have a new system in place. Because then that would require board approval. We only have one meeting before that.
Yeah.
And the staff report for that meeting on November 15th is due this Wednesday.
Mhm.
So,
I understand, I
Yeah.
understand, I just. This is, it's important to raise this issue. You know,
Vice President, I just got renewal for US Water Alliance. Is that on there?
yeah, well, it's my personal note. but-
Okay,
Yeah.
so we get 2 slots on their One Water Council. And so that probably should be added
Yeah,
to the.
it's not on it's not on this list right now, but we can add it.
Mhm. Great. in fact, that's a membership that I pushed for,
Yes,
I pushed for that.
Right,
So yes, that should be on here.
so I would suggest as the incoming president. I'll have to say, assuming that gets, I have no reason to believe you won't be, but assuming you're the incoming president. We can, I would suggest that you add those representatives to that as well.
Yes.
So that being said, I see two things. So for December 6th, our current process where the incoming president reaches out, gets everybody's and kind of puts a slate together. Maybe really the best option, but moving forward, given that we have time, coming up with maybe a more objective process may make sense.
Mhm.
So before December 6th coming up, that we probably won't be able to put an objective process through the whole committee and board before December 6th.
Yeah, understood, and this is, your idea and the way that it's done elsewhere is very refreshing. I think that's a great starting point. It's a great jumping off point. It's it at least puts a process in place that doesn't feel like no, tell me what you want to do, and then guess what? You're not doing any of that. Because that's what it feels like. And that's what the evidence suggests, at least from my perspective. So, the monetary differences are stunning. And the learning opportunity is also stunning. So, and I'm happy to share any of these comparisons, total compensation, directors with benefits, directors without benefits, healthcare benefits primarily, because that's a big chunk of what is included in the total compensation. Not all of us take those benefits, but it's stunning. So
At the last board meeting, there was discussion about, is it the number of committees or the number of meetings that those committees participate in? Because is it about opportunities and representation, or is it about the dollars? So your proposal is intriguing. I just don't know how it would factor that in.
Right.
Just
Well,
being on a committee, if you're on a committee and the committee never meets. Right,
my primary point was that other people have thought this through more than we have and
Right.
have come to a solution that
Mhm.
seems equitable and
Yeah.
fair across the board.
Yeah.
And it's worthy of exploring their ideas because they've spent a lot of money and thought into this. So
Right.
Yeah.
figured it was worthy bringing up and I'll get the better framework of it and bring it.
Yeah, no, I
bring it
really
there.
appreciate you
Okay.
doing that legwork. That's very noble. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, and I hope that that's not the case. I hope there's not an ulterior motive that got us here. I think there may have just been ignorance at play. I hope that that's the case and not somebody willfully did this.
Mhm. Thank you for that comment. Okay,
so absent any other direction from the board, we're planning on agendizing two items on the December 6th meeting. One is the president, vice president's election, and the next is the determination of committee assignments, which is initiated by the incoming president's slate of candidates. So just so we all know where we're heading,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And hopefully that chart looks different after that December 6th.
well, I think 4 of the 5 of us committed to working toward a more equitable distribution, and I said that straight out. If I am the elected president, then that is my commitment as well, because it's one thing to bang the drum about this and then do something different if I'm in charge of it. That's not who I am. So I think it will. But I think it is important to acknowledge. And the point about being put on a committee that never really meets. I mean, that's what when I was put on the P3 committee, and I said, well, we should meet, and you told me that this committee we've never really met that much. But this committee has been mighty. We have done a number of great things. We have put in place the internship. We have put in place the scholarship. We have written single-use plastics resolutions. We put in a pride resolution. We have changed the application for employment. We've done some DEI A/B initiatives. And we brought Bill Dean to the table and put that in place. And so we've done a lot of great things. So even if the committee doesn't really meet very often, you can still make it. You can make it do good things for the community. So I appreciate that. Any other comments about that?
No, I think I was unaware of it, so appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, I think then we're done unless we have anything else.
So should we agendize something on a future P3 committee meeting if the Director Grosset has some information? Is that the kind of?
Do you think you'll have time to talk
Oh, for sure,
with them for the next meeting? Or do you want to wait
Send
until
an
the
email
meeting?
to them. Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so yes, so that will go on the next,
the December meeting.
December meeting.